1983 was the year where GI Joe really hit its stride and showed what it could be. And in this year, it produced some of the greatest vehicles in any toy line ever. And we're going to rank them right now.
Yo, Joe!
Okay, so I've been doing rankings of basically everything GI Joe, trying to work my way through the entire collection, and I have done most of the years, and you can check out a playlist with those rankings right here. But right now, the reason why I like to do rankings is you get a weird non-linear tour of the worst to the best. Now, this is 1983. We're still pretty much in great era. There's not a lot of bad here, but let's get into it and discuss the worst to the best 1983. Okay, at the very bottom of the list in 1983 has to be the Gliders of Sadness. Why do I call them the Gliders of Sadness? You know what I'm talking about, because if you had these things, you know pain. You had tears, because they were styrofoam gliders that you attach your GI Joe to and you tossed in the air, and within 1/2 hour of owning these things, they broke in half. No one has not had this experience. There's no one with an intact glider. If you find an intact glider on eBay, I'd be shocked, because it's universally these things broke. They sucked so hard. It was such a bad idea for a toy. This is one of the greatest fails in GI Joe history. Now, it was an awesome idea. You open up your birthday, you're like, a glider? This is awesome. It's got guns on it. Put a GI Joe on a glider. You throw that shit. You throw it for like you throw it maybe 3 times. Smacks against a tree, wing off, you're crying. I'm going to put at the very bottom of the list the GI Joe glider, because it came with Grunt. You don't need Grunt. He already had Grunt. You don't want him. And the second saddest thing that you got was the Cobra glider, because it also broke. But at least when it broke, you had a new Cobra Soldier. And that Cobra Soldier could be used as another Cobra Soldier, because he certainly wasn't a glider, because he wasn't riding that thing, because that thing was broken. Gliders suck. First of all, glider is a bad idea for battle. How are you going to glide into battle? You got to run. You're going to be in a high place. Then you're going to run. Then you jump off the cliff. And then you glide. And then when you get there, what do you do? What do? You leave the glider, you go home. It's a terrible idea. And GI Joe is just full of gliders. Later on, the gliders get at least a little better. But these gliders were the Gliders of Sadness. Next in line, we're going to have the Pack Rats. Now, what the Pack Rats were really cool. They were little robots that did various damage to Cobra, and they had remote controls on them. I'm going to say that my least favorite is the Cannon version. It had 4 guns, 2 guns that were straight up, and then 2 that could rotate up and down. Very cool. You have the Pack Rat zooming into battle, shooting, firing off its cannons. Just not quite as exciting as the others. My second favorite would be the missile launcher, which had some pretty cool missiles that could break apart, and it almost seemed to have 2 stages. It had 4 missiles. Again, anytime you have missiles, and missiles are your only weapon, once the missiles are over, you go home. But the Pack Rats were pretty cool. And then the third Pack Rat, which I would say is my favorite Pack Rat, is a flamethrower, because I mean, it's just cool. The idea, you have a little remote control, it's zooming through, and it's just tossing flames out, breaking the Geneva Convention, murdering everything in its way. It's kind of a terrifying idea. It's pretty cool. I never used the Pack Rat. I don't remember using the Pack Rats very much. I remember I had all of them. I have them all. I just remember just never being like that enamored with them. But I like the idea of them, and I definitely would like to see Pack Rat pack, maybe a 3-pack in Classified. Just give us a 3-pack with maybe fast draw or something, like pack it with a figure, sell it for $80, something like that. 3-pack with one cool figure that we wouldn't get anywhere else. I'll buy it. And next in line, we have the Jump Pack, and this is one of the most iconic things in GI Joe is the Jump Pack. The only reason why this is low, this could actually almost be like at the very top of this list. This could be in like the number like 4 spot, I think. The reason why I'm putting it low is because this one was really the second version of it, and so it's not quite as exciting as the jump pack. But the jump pack is one of the most iconic things in GI Joe. You see it everywhere. To me, it was Stalker. Stalker was the guy who got the jump pack, because I remember seeing that both in the cartoon and very much in the comic book. He would have the jump pack on, he'd fly over and toss grenades at Cobra tanks and just blow shit up. So I love the jump pack. It came with Grand Slam, had a nice little launching pad with some computer station there, and you had a little laser cannon that attached with a wire on it. Very cool system, iconically GI Joe, and an awesome thing. Okay, next in line we have the Whirlwind, and the Whirlwind is one of these many towable gun weapons. And this is a Gatling gun that's quite heavily armored, and this is one of the reasons why I really like the Whirlwind. Like I said, we're at the bottom of the list. There's almost nothing bad here. Rock and Roll was the one riding that thing for me. What's so great about it is you got these 2 Gatling guns. You're getting towed by, let's say, the Vamp, but you do have this heavily armored plate in front of you, so it was a great anti-aircraft weapon and just added firepower to your Mobat or your Vamp. Really pretty great, actually. Pretty great toy. Next in line we have the Wolverine, which gave us Cover Girl. This thing is so great. I mean, first of all, it's just yet another tank. We've got an array of missiles. We've got a girl driver who's able to, fix tanks, and, is also supposed to be a super hot model, although she looks like that, so I don't know why. The other thing that's really fun with the Wolverine is that it actually came with a tow cable that was like a wire cable that you could take off on the side, and you could use for various different ideas or adventures, maybe towing something. I don't remember using it that much again, but the Wolverine is certainly great. And you can get a Wolverine right now, by the way, by Ramen Toys makes a version of a tank, and you can get a Wolverine attachment. You can actually make it a Mobat, a Wolverine, or a bridge layer. So you can get one right now. I don't know if Classified's ever going to make them. Feels like they need to HasLab everything that's bigger than a Vamp, so I don't think you're going to get one of those anytime soon, so you might want to get the Ramen Toys one. Next we have the APC, All Personnel Carrier, and this was a carrying case and a vehicle, but what was so awesome about this thing is it floated. The idea is that it's amphibious personnel carrier. It floated, and you could put in your pool. I didn't have a pool, but you could put it in a pool or the bathtub or whatever, and it floated really nicely and carried a good chunk of your GI Joes. It had this little bar that you could put on their waists, and it did have a little cannon on the top, which is okay. If you've ever seen the Action Force and you're interested in, Action Force had a way cooler version of the APC, which had the computer stations and more weapons, and it was just, and a medical area, and it was just way better. And you can check that out. But unfortunately, we just got the one with a little cannon on the top. So it's not the most exciting vehicle of all time, but the fact that it floated and the fact that it carried a lot of your GI Joes and it was a little carrying case, it kind of rules. Next in line we have the Snake Armor, and the Snake Armor is, I love this thing so much as a kid, and I'm loving the new one too, coming out by Classified. What's so great about this, there's a lot of interesting lore with the Snake Armor. They basically were robots, but you could also put a GI Joe figure in it. What they did nicely, which is smart, is they gave you that little rubber black piece, so you didn't need to waste one of your Cobra soldiers. You could just put the little rubber black piece, and it had different arm attachments: a missile launcher, a cannon, a flamethrower, and a claw hand that could crush things. So you had, but what's interesting this, and something that didn't really register me when I was a kid, it just says it on the box, is that this thing is meant to brainwash GI Joe. So the idea is you like put a GI Joe in it and you send it out to battle. Think about this, it's kind of awesome. You send it out to battle, you got a GI Joe in it. Now GI Joe is shooting at it. They know their buddy's in it, so they can't shoot it because they don't want to blow up their buddy. And then the buddy is getting brainwashed as he fights his friends and tries to kill them. So that is just a very cool little bit of lore there that's really interesting. The Red Shadows version of this is called an escape pod, which it does make for an interesting escape pod. Think about it, you're a Cobra Commander, a Baron Ironblood, you're trying to get out of a base that's being attacked by GI Joes, fire going on around you, machine guns all around you, and you want to get out. You put on that suit, you walk through, and you're basically bullet fire, explosive proof, and you make it out. So this is a very cool idea. Next, and like basically all of this is iconic, right? So much of this is iconic, and this is absolutely, for me, an iconic vehicle. It's the Polar Battle Bear. Sometimes those simple little vehicles were the absolute most fun, and for me the Polar Battle Bear was one of them. What I love so much about this is just the idea of this very fast little tiny vehicle going through, flying over snowbanks and taking down snow serpents. But you had these guns in the front that you could push a little lever and the guns would move back and forth. And you had a couple of missiles on the skis you could point out, fire off the missiles. It had a place for people to grab onto the back, which normally a lot of times G.I. Joe's like, yeah, you can, 5 people can stand on the snowcat. No, they can't, because you're going to whip off as soon as you go over 40 miles an hour. But the Polar Battle Bear was one of those where it actually made sense that you could kind of stand on and grab onto the side. And then you could remove the back and see a motor. And it was just like, what I love about the small vehicles is blowing them up, making them, fly off and smash into things and take Cobras down. And I had endless amount of fun with that thing. Next in line, we have the Fang helicopter, and this thing I love this thing so much. First of all, it is completely unarmored, and the idea, I think, is that Cobra doesn't care. I talked about this in my Technology of Cobra video, which I think you should watch, and they basically are just like, no, we want no armor, we want it to be light and fast, we want it to go fly in, deliver a payload, those 2 missiles on the side, the bomb at the bottom, the machine gun roll, and they have that rolling ball that works really well, machine gun. And they had I don't think was great about this thing is you had in the cockpit you did have the handle, so you could really put the hand on it. You can imagine making it fly. It's a very simple vehicle, but for me, what was so great about the Fang was the fact that it was this tiny little, very easy to destroy helicopter. And for me, what it was like, Snake Eyes is grabbing onto the landing gear, flipping over, kicking the pilot out, and then having the Fang spiral and just like spinning blades cutting through like a row of Cobras. Just, that to me it was like those, I was using the helicopter blades to kill people more than I was using the grenade, the machine guns or the missiles. Endless fun with that thing. Absolutely endless fun. The smaller vehicles, I think the other thing about smaller vehicles, why I think they are better, is because you just can very easily manipulate them. So, for instance, I have the Dragonfly right up there. You may see the Dragonfly, right? And the truth is it's amazing, but I can't really play with it because I can barely carry it. A kid could barely carry that thing. And you really need like 2. You need like 2 things that you can have like a dogfight with. Kind of hard to do, but with the Fang, it was so easy to have a dogfight because it's this tiny little thing. Next in line, we have the original Dragonfly, and this thing was so amazing. To get an attack helicopter, you had a little button that could make the propellers spin, and then you had missiles which you could pretend were firing off. And the nice little details in G.I. Joe was one of the things that made it so great. You had removable panels where you could see parts of the engine. You had this front gunner cannon, and which is actually absolutely ridiculous. You had a little a place for a foot peg on the landing gear, like somebody could actually grab onto the side. If you grab on the side of a Dragonfly helicopter and fly off, you're definitely dying. That is an insane thing to do. So like the foot pegs there were like, I don't get that shit. Had a winch, which was really fun to do because now you can lift up and imagine you're carrying a vamp into battle, let it loose. I used to have it like drag the vamp right through the winch, and then it would lay the vamp down on a runway, and the vamp would fly around and start machine gunning everything. It was so much fun. So just an absolute incredible vehicle. So many iconic things this year. Next in line, we have number 3 is the Hiss Tank. And absolutely one of the greatest vehicles of all time. Now, the toy itself wasn't that great, admittedly. It's just aesthetically looked incredible. It was like nothing you'd ever seen before. It looked like no other tank. It was sleek and black. It had the cannons on the top. It had, a very odd shape to it. But it's basically a brick. Like the wheel, it had wheels on the bottom, but the tank treads don't move. It didn't open up. It wasn't very large. It was nothing like the beautiful, $350 one here behind me. But still, it captured the imagination. And I think what really captured the imagination for me is, like, in the comic book, one of the first appearances of it, we see Duke and Destro having a fight on the deck of his tank. And then Cobra Commander has to decide which one he's going to shoot. And that was really fun, too. So for me, it was like a lot of times there was fist fights on the back of it. Even though there wasn't a lot of room on the back. So it was like, yeah, did a little imagination to, enhance it. But it's just iconic in its look and feel. Even though it is really just a block of plastic with a cannon on top. Okay, now we're talking about the vehicles and play sets, and so in my number 2 slot, I am going to give GI Joe HQ, which was such an incredible thing to have. First of all, it was modular, which was great. So you had 3 sides. You had your main section, then you had a couple of little garages where you could put your Mobat and your Vamp. It did have a lift, so you could raise up the Vamp, and Clutch could work on the bottom of it. There were racks to put machine guns. There were little turret slits in the armor, so you could fit the Mobat's gun in between. But the main section was the really great bit, and you had a helicopter pad on the side for your Dragonfly. But the main bit, you had your cannon. You had spotlights, which were always fun to shoot out, machine guns, and then you had a jail. And I mean, like, jail was all you really needed. Like, so much fun. You put Storm Shadow in the jail, and you imagine how he's going to sneak out. You also had this nice little bit where you had the computer readout, and there was a lot of detail in there. It was really, really fun here. You had places to put weapons. Just an absolute really fun, kind of necessary set. I really want to see them do a GI Joe HQ that's modular for the HasLab some year. Some people say it would be too big. I think you could make it so it folds and is flat and is maybe just like, imagine you could put it on your shelf. Imagine if it was really mostly just the front and then the other parts folded up or something. And so you could display, but you lay it out and you play with it, and it'd be a blast. But the number 1 vehicle of the year, 1983, the iconic, incredible year of GI Joe, has to be the Sky Striker, which is based on the F-14 fighter plane, which of course was popularized by Top Gun. So GI Joe came out with this, Top Gun came out a little bit later. The F-14 was incredibly popular. First of all, it's a massive, beautiful plane. The design of the logo of the Sky Striker itself is incredibly iconic. You have missiles all around it. You have ejection seats, which have parachutes connected to them, so you can toss your Ace and his co-pilots up in the air and have them float down. They worked pretty well. You had landing gear that popped down. You had the wings splayed out. And it's just like one of the most iconic vehicles of G.I. Joe. It really like says G.I. Joe. You look at it, you see a Sky Striker, that is G.I. Joe, right? So one of the greatest vehicles of all time, one of the greatest, certainly absolutely an iconic G.I. Joe vehicle. I absolutely need a classified version. So get on that, Hasbro. And that's my take on the greatest vehicles of 1983. If you like watching these, I've done a complete series. I've done the majority of the years by now. You can check them all out in this playlist right here.